Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're here for the Finance Committee meeting. We'll begin right away. Commissioner Fendig's running a few minutes late, but we'll go ahead and get started. Are there any additions or to the agenda as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add 7.1. Consider recommending to the Board of Commissioners approve or deny requests from Mr. C.J. Vickers and Frederica Golf Club that $331.52 accrued in late fees on the accommodation excise tax return and alcohol by the drink return for December 2020 in accordance with the county ordinances be waived.
I have a motion to add 7.1 to the agenda. I'll second that. All in favor, raise your right hand. Add 7.1 to the agenda. Look at the minutes. Item number 2, approving of the minutes. Any comments or suggestions or motions?
I have none.
You want to move to accept?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from February 23rd, 2021.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. The minutes are approved. Number 3, public safety item. Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners amend the FY21 revenues and expenditure budgets in the accommodation excise tax fund by $16,850.05 and approve the purchase of the replacement service utility vehicle with the necessary lighting and siren equipment with funding to be provided by the accommodation excise tax fund balance utilizing state contract 99999-001-SPD 0000072-001. Chief Jordan's not here.
No, he's not here. He's actually in chief conference. He asked me to fill in for him.
Okay.
This is to replace the 2015 that we have that they used to carry the Zodiac for water rescues on the beach. We're currently don't have one because the one that's that was in service is rusted out. And this is just to replace that one.
Okay. And how many times that is kept there at the Demery Fire Station, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How many times, do we know how many times last summer we pulled it out and used it?
I don't have that number, but it's quite a bit.
Yeah. One of the things I'd ask Ms. Gerganis, if I'll ask you to relay it to the chief, is really trying to get better data and exactly who's responding to what calls, and kind of keep almost a separate, I would ask that you'd keep a separate log of that so we as a community and commission can know who's being called, when and where, at what times. I think we went back and tried to look through the 911 calls, and it was kind of hard to determine what was actually a water rescue or an assist or whether the boat was pulled out. So if you'll please pass that on to the chief, I'd appreciate it.
I sure will.
Do we have a motion? Any questions?
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners amend the FY21 revenues and expenditures budgets in the accommodations excise tax fund by $16,850.05 and approve the purchase of the replacement service utility vehicle with the necessary lighting and siren equipment with funding to be provided by the accommodation excise tax fund balance utilizing state contract 99999-001-SPD 0000072-0001.
All right, we have a motion, and I'll second it. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Item number 3 passes 2-0. Item 4, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve the real and personal property corrections and exemptions as recommended by the Board of Assessors and the Chief Appraiser at the Thursday, January 14th, 2021 meeting with clarification that this does not approve a tax refund. Mr. Glynn.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. These are the corrections from the Board of Assessors meeting on January 14th. I'd be glad to try to answer any questions y'all have.
Are there any questions concerning item number 4 by the committee? Okay, Mr. Glynn, I was just looking over them. They look pretty straightforward to me. Do we have a motion?
I move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners approve the real and personal property corrections and exemptions as recommended by the Board of Assessors and the Chief Appraiser at their Thursday, January 14th, 2021 meeting with clarification that this does not approve a tax refund.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? got a second. So motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Item number 4 passes 3-0. Item number 5, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve the real and personal property corrections and exemptions as recommended by the Board of Assessors and the Chief Appraiser at their Thursday, March 4th, 2021 meeting, with clarification that this does not approve a tax refund. Mr. Glynn.
Yeah, again, March 4th, Board of Assessor corrections, and I'll try to answer any questions y'all may have.
Any questions by the commissioners? In my review of it, Mr. Glynn, I didn't see anything that stood out to me. Do I have a motion?
I move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners approve the real and personal property corrections and exemptions as recommended by the Board of Assessors, the Chief Appraiser at their Thursday, March 4th, 2021 meeting, with clarification that this does not approve a tax refund.
Have a motion, we have a second? Second. Motion and a second, all in favor, raise your right hand.
Thanks, Commissioners.
Item number 5 passes 3-0. Item 6, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners declare the unusable items listed on the attached page as surplus and approve disposing of these items in the best interest of the county. You're not, Ms. Dunnigan.
No, sir. Dave Austin. These are all in my area, so I'm dying to get rid of them. That's the minimum bid price. They usually fetch more than that. It's about $1,500 a pop. As you know, county employees cannot bid on any of these surplus items.
Dave, on the trailer and the four-wheelers, you're just gonna scrap those?
The trailer has no wheels. The four-wheelers, some of them have wheels, but are all rusted out.
So they're basically going to
They're
Glynn
going
Iron
to-
and Metal?
Yes,
somewhere?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Any further questions? Do I have a motion?
I move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners declare the unusable items listed on the attached page as surplus and approve disposing of these in the best interest of the county.
I have a motion, do we have a second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion, item 6 passes 3-0. Item 7, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve a new lease with Village Creek Landing LLC for the use of the parking area and turnaround at South Harrington Boat Ramp, and consider recommending that the Board of Commissioners approve payment of the 2019 and 2020 invoices from Village Creek Landing LLC in the amount of $5,400 each. I guess it says Commissioner O'Quinn, that must be me. No laughing? Yes, this is an agreement that has been kind of been out there with the county and the folks at Village Creek Landing for the last 2 years that had not been completed. Myself and Commissioner Rafalski and Commissioner Fendig have talked about it. We've met with the Village Creek Landing folks. We believe we have a very good opportunity here to clean up what has sort of been left to kind of hang for the last couple of years. But more importantly, the way these leases are structured, being 25 one-year leases, in our discussions with the DNR, that the way this is arranged will allow the DNR, as we understand it, to come and put investment into the ramp there at South Harrington and possibly some of the surrounding structure after beside it. So from my perspective, I think it's a good deal for the county. I think it cleans it up, and I'm excited that we have this opportunity to have an improvement to that boat ramp, which is basically the only boat ramp we have on St. Simon's at this point on the island itself, in which you can back a trailer into. And then considering that the McKay River Bridge project's coming up in a year or two, it's probably going to eliminate that opportunity to use that boat ramp for a number of years. So, are there any questions, commissioners, comments?
Mr. Chairman, thank you for y'all's efforts to get this hanging out there issue resolved. I have no problem with this moving forward. I did email DNR. I didn't hear back from them. I just wanted to make sure that this lease does qualify in their parameters for the funding, and so I would make a motion to approve that.
If you remember, Cap, when we were meeting with the DNR, that question was brought up to Mark Williams, and he said yes, as long as there was a long-term lease.
Right. We
They-
got it in the year increments, but
Yeah, but he said it
That's
needed to be
fine.
20 years plus, so we went 25 on this.
Yes, sir, Mr. Worthing?
Commissioners, to that point, I got a call from Paul Metters at DNR this morning.
Okay.
We discussed that very issue. He seemed satisfied and said that this looked good, and he had a question about the one-year renewal leases, and I explained to him that a 1 year, with a private entity, a 1-year lease is all that the county could do with that, and he said that would be fine.
yeah, that's fine. So I was going to make it subject to the DNR approval, but that you heard from them, that cleared up. I just want to make sure that they understood that
Yes, sir, and
and
also
that
too,
qualified.
the lease has a provision that says that the parties will amend it in any way that's necessary to make DNR happy.
That's great.
Want to make it, Cap, or you want me to?
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead and make a motion to approve. I guess I need to read it as it is.
I got it.
Okay. go
I
ahead.
move to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve a new lease with Village Creek Landing LLC for use of the parking area and turnaround at the South Harrington Boat Ramp. Also move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners approve payment of the 2019 and 2020 invoices from Village Creek Landing in the amount of $5,400 each.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, gladly.
Any other further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Item number 7 passes 3-0. Cap, well, they've added 7.1.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, hold on a second. I got it. I'm going to add, we added 7.1. 7.1, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve or deny a request from Mr. C.J. Vickers and Frederica Golf Club that $331.52 accrued in late fees on the accommodation excise tax return and alcohol by the drink return for December 2020 in accordance with the county ordinance be waived. Ms. Dunnigan.
Yes, sir, Commissioners. Mr. Vickers contacted us on behalf of the Frederica Golf Club and has requested that we would refund him this money or waive this fee because he did take it to the post office on the 20th, and it sat in the blue box outside and did not get taken in. He said he was there by 1 o'clock, and we've explained to him that the county ordinance says that, it has to be paid by that date, and, that the only way we could do anything about it is to bring it before you and let you guys make the decision.
And just for clarification, is due on the 20th or it has to be postmarked by the 20th?
Well, it's due on the 20th.
20th, so he mailed it on the 20th, thinking it was going to get there by the 20th?
Well, if it's postmarked on the 20th, though, we take it on the 20th.
Okay.
Was it postmarked? Do you remember?
It was postmarked the 21st.
Okay. Well, I think if we get in the habit of trying to guess when and where, who put what at what mailbox, and what supposed postmark should or should not be on it, we're going to be opening up a Pandora's box, in my opinion. Commissioners, any other thoughts or comments?
I agree.
Motion?
Yeah.
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners deny a request from Mr. C.J. Vickers in the Frederica Golf Club that $331.52 accrued in late fees on the accommodation excise tax return and alcohol by the drink return for December 2020 in accordance with the county ordinance be waived.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 7.1 passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Item number 8, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners accept FY21 marketing grant and authorize a revenue and expenditure increase in the amount of $1,500 for the Marshes of Glynn Libraries, with funding be provided by the Georgia Public Library Service. Miss.
Hey, y'all.
Hello, I wondered where you were.
Sorry, I double booked myself. Yes, so this is free money. Yay! It's the state had a marketing grant that opened up for National Library Week and a couple other things that happened in April. So we applied for it and we got it. There's no match.
Great job. That's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
Commissioners, any questions?
No.
Have a motion?
I move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners accept the FY21 marketing grant and authorize a revenue and expenditure increase in the amount of $1,500 for the Marshes of Glynn Libraries, with funding to be provided by the Georgia Public Library Service.
Got a motion? We have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Item number 3 passes 3-0. Oh, that's number
Thank
8,
you.
right? Yeah. Item number 8 passes 3-0. Thank you. Item number 9, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve the personal contracts with the University System of Georgia's UGA Cooperative Extension Office to extend the contracts of one 4-H agent, extension coordinator, one ANR agent, total county funding to be shared with McIntosh County. Amount on the budget sheet is to be paid by the Glynn County BOC, one county extension 4-H educator, and one family and consumer science educator. Total county funding to be shared by McIntosh County. The amount on the budget sheet is to be paid by the Glynn County BOC for the period of July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. The annual cost of funding in the amount of $96,800 to be provided by the FY22 GA Extension Operating Budget. Ms. Stewart.
Yeah, so we are looking forward to next year's budget, and I'm just here to answer any questions. The changes would be that we are currently without an A&R agent. We just lost our family and consumer science educator. That position has been split with McIntosh County this year. The A&R agent, who we would hope to have hired starting in July, there's also funding coming from McIntosh County. That agent would work from Glynn, but would help cover McIntosh.
Is it, help me remember, it seemed like last year we made some changes in this arrangement where we would go in to share with McIntosh. Is that correct? To help keep the cost down overall?
Yes, our plan was to share an agent and get an educator, an educator that would work out of Glynn County, but there just wasn't funding for that on UGA's part. So they were actually wanting just an educator, and we really need an A&R agent more than just an educator.
And when you say A&R, correct?
Oh, agriculture and natural resources.
Okay.
So within the university, an A&R agent has to have a master's degree. An educator is a bachelor's degree and would do more programming, but we really need an A&R agent more in the office.
Okay. Commissioners, any other comments or questions?
Just a comment. Donna, it's always good to see you. Donna goes back with 4-H. I won't even say that for respect.
32 years. Yeah.
Yeah. But as long as I've been involved with 4-H over 32 years, you've been there in the face of 4-H, and
Yep.
thank you for all your organization does.
Still bleeding green. Yep.
I don't think there's a student in Georgia that has missed, hopefully not, the privilege of working through your organization here on the coast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion?
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the personnel contract with the University System of Georgia Cooperative Extension Office to extend the contracts for one 4-H agent/extension coordinator, one ANR agent, total county funding to be shared by McIntosh County. Amount on budget sheet is to be paid by Glynn County Board of Commission. One county Extension 4-H educator and 1 family and consumer science educator. Total county funding to be shared by McIntosh County. Amount on budget sheet is to be paid by Glynn County Board of Commissioners for the period of July 1, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. The annual cost with funding in the amount of $96,800 to be provided by the FY22 Georgia Extension operating budget.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
A second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, motion number 9 passes 3-0. Item number 9, I'm sorry. Item 10, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve and execute the FY22 contract with the Brunswick Judicial Circuit Public Defender in the amount of $576,880. Ms. Dunnigan.
Yes, sir. This is just a continued contract with the Georgia Public Defender Standards Council. There is an increase this year of $19,565.91. I have reviewed the attachment. I've had legal review it, and it's just in their personnel costs. They've increased their personnel cost.
Correct me, this is set by them, is that correct, or set by the state?
Yes.
Did I read that correctly?
Yes, sir. They have 17 full-time, 4 part-time employees, and 1 contract attorney plus their operating fees is what makes this up.
Okay. Commissioners, any other comments?
Nope.
All right, do we have a motion?
I move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approve and execute the FY22 contract with the Brunswick Judicial Circuit Public Defender in the amount of $576,880.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 10 passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Item 11, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners renew the contract with Keep Golden Isles Beautiful in the amount of $51,924 with funding provided by the FY22 Solid Waste Collection Fund operating budget. Ms. Thompson.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Pamela Thompson, Director of Community Development. Glynn County has had a contract with Keep Golden Isles Beautiful to assist us in cleanup of the community. That contract is up for renewal this year. They have requested an increase, and I've invited them here to explain their enhanced services and the need for that increase so that you all can decide what level you would like to renew that contract at.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Many of you know me, Leah King-Bedina, Executive Director of Keep Golden Isles Beautiful, and Clement Collins, our board chairperson, is here with me today. And yes, we always come to you at this time of year to talk about our annual contract, and for the first time in 7 years, we are actually requesting an increase this year. It's been at least 7 years since we've received an increase, and what we were hoping for would to be roughly a 3% increase per year for the last 7 years, which would amount to a little over $1,800 a year, which would amount to a little over $13,000 one-time increase this year, going from $51,924 to $65,000. And as you know, we work strongly with the Glynn County government in areas of litter prevention, waste reduction and recycling, community greening, water resource awareness, and education. And one little quick statistic, we're not even through with the month of March in our March Madness efforts, and we've already, to date, removed over 6 tons of trash from the marsh and marsh adjoining areas in just 3 weeks. So you can see we're busy little beavers, and we appreciate our working relationship with you all and enjoy working side by side with you towards community betterment. And we're happy to answer questions, or Clement, if you want to add anything, I don't know. I'm a fast-talking Southerner.
Well, you do a great job. We do appreciate all that you guys do. And Commissioners, any questions or comments that you have?
Not really.
Not really?
No.
Go ahead.
I commend you on the job you guys do. I found out you give bags to Save by Grace.
Yes, we give trash bags to Save by Grace. And hopes to encourage the homeless population to clean up after themselves, especially when camping out and living in our beautiful natural resources.
I think they use them more for suitcases.
Probably so.
Question, Kevin?
No, I just, they play a huge part on helping our community stay clean, which we appreciate. It's too bad that we have to have such an inordinate amount of effort for people that could, with just a little bit of time, take prevention. And I know that you're making up for past years of no increase. You know,
How long has it been since you guys have had an increase?
We know it's been at least 7 years before Christy and myself came on board. It's a little bit harder. The records were kept on paper and not electronically in the previous director's position, so it's been harder for us to go back past 7 years to find exactly when the last increase was. So we're confident in saying it's been at least 7 years.
And was this made during the budget process for this increase for this coming year? I mean, I'm a little bit.
I'll let Ms. Thompson speak to that.
Commissioners, they have a contract with us that is renewed annually. The contract did not put in for an automatic increase. In the 4.5 years I've been here, the commission has just decided that each year, and I believe they haven't even requested an increase since I've been here 4.5 years. This contract is funded through the Solid Waste Fund, so it is a little bit different funding source.
Mr. Hours, that's been typical of what we've done the last few years, is to bring it through the Finance Committee as opposed to the budgeting process. Am I understanding that correctly?
Mr. Chairman, that's correct because it's a contract renewal. It is in the budget, but it's also a contract, so it comes before you. Yes, sir.
I mean, but the increase, was that ever discussed, or is this the first time we've heard about it?
It's just been a part of the budget.
Part of the budget?
I don't remember it being discussed as a whole, and like Ms. Thompson said, I don't remember them asking for an increase.
And so just to clarify, the increase is to $65,000, is that correct? Okay. Commissioners, any comments or any motions?
If you couldn't go to 65, would you be willing to go to 60?
We would be grateful for any amount of increase, to be honest with you.
Commissioners, just briefly. We're appreciative of the county's contract every single year, and so we don't want to do anything to jeopardize that. We couldn't survive and thrive the way that we do without y'all. Having said that, you know, costs have gone up for everyone over the past 7 years, 10 years, whatever it's been, and so to aid this organization's thriving, we would like some increase, whatever the commission sees fit, whatever the will of the commission is. That would be amazing.
So you buy all of your supplies and you pay your 2 salaries out of that amount of money a year?
Well, this amount of money is a big portion of what keeps our organization going. To be honest, if we did not have this relationship with Glynn County, our organization would cease to exist. We do get some funding from the city of Brunswick, this funding through the contract through Glynn County, and then we fundraise the rest of it. And so fundraising is a little bit harder to count on every year. As we all know, it fluctuates. And then during the time of the pandemic, it's a little bit less stable. But we have a relationship with Keep America Beautiful, so some of our supplies, such as we receive 30,000 trash bags a year for free from them. So we really work hard to get in-kind relationships started with different vendors so that we're not having to purchase everything, but there are costs of doing business for sure. And we just have a two-person paid staff, and everything else is done by volunteer effort.
Thank you.
Have a motion?
Huh? I think the split.
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners renew the contract with Keep Golden Isles Beautiful in the amount of $60,000 with funding to be provided by the FY22 Solid Waste Collection Fund operating budget.
Have a motion, we have a second.
Second, and just comment, again, we really appreciate what y'all do. It's shameful that we have such litter bugs in our community, and it's a lot of dumping, and we hope to work closer with you over the next 3 and 4 years to see what we can do to strategize to stop that process of just junking our community. So we'll look forward to that, and this will step you forward.
I have a question for the attorney. Do we need to modify the contract, Will?
Yes, sir. I was going to say that if y'all pass this recommendation, an amendment will need to be drafted, and we can have that drafted up for the board to consider next Thursday at their meeting.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. Item 11 passes 3-0, and that is amended 60,000 amount, just to make sure that we're all clear. Item number 12.
Thank you.
Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners authorize bidding the construction of the widening phase of the Canal Road project with funds currently allocated to the project, and understand that additional funds from the SPLOST 2016 fund as required will be required to award the bid. Ms. Thompson?
Commissioners, Paul Andrews, County Engineer. The item before you is a request to, like it says, to authorize that the county goes out for bid on the Canal Road project, acknowledging that the funds allocated for that project in the SPLOST 2016 account are expected to be short of what the project costs will be. We had far enough along, the design engineer put together the cost estimate for the project, and it exceeds the amount remaining in that fund amount.
Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Is all the widening all legally in order now? I mean, all the different tracks and property owners were all set to move forward?
No, sir. We're still working through acquisition. We've got one scheduled this week. Y'all took an item at the board last Thursday to authorize issuance of a letter that should free up a couple of more to come forward. So the design engineer and the county are working hard to get them done. And there's still that has along sections of it, sections that the Corps of Engineers is remains under review for their potential for impacts to wetlands.
Is this also part of item 26? Item 26 is
the median?
Change order, yeah.
Yes, sir, that was the item that went to y'all's workshop.
Right.
And this is just the actual item to approve and authorize that change order. That is taken into account in the, when I backed out the numbers to say we needed, that the project was going to be short on the project funding was going to be short.
So the funding hadn't been set for any of this project yet?
Yes, sir. SPLOST 2016 has a fund amount for it, and as we've been using those funds for design, for acquisition, for the permitting processes.
How much have we spent on that so far?
Well,
if you have it.
I do. We're anticipating encumbering $800. Well, hold on.
This is just for design.
1.7.
This is just design?
No,
That's
sir.
the total project.
The item that's before you is requesting y'all just to authorize us to go, when we're ready, when the project's ready, is to take it out to bid for construction. Right now, we're into design and acquisition and permitting. We've got 1.7 in that. But we anticipate.
It sounds like it's going to be a while before you're ready to put it out to bid. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And basically, you're just saying, letting us know, hey, we're going to put it out to bid, but we think it's going to come in higher than the amount of money we have in SPLOST 2016. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We'd prefer not to put it out knowing that we don't have money in the account that's allocated for it.
We don't have any idea what that overage is, or, I mean, we'd just be guessing at this point, correct?
That's correct. We expect it to be over budget based on what we spent, what the costs are coming in now and what the cost estimate for the project is, but we don't have an actual number.
What did we have on in SPOS 16?
4 million.
4 million?
Yes, sir.
And we think it's going to be more than that?
Total project, yes, sir.
Well, I don't know.
It's a SPOS project, correct? So it's got to be done.
Yeah, it's got to be done, correct? I mean,
The
yeah.
SPOS item has to be addressed. And,
Okay.
you know, whether that's a phased project or if we reduce, if we wind up not, we may have to go back to redesign parts of it to reduce the scope.
Well, I mean, that's what I am questioning why we're putting it out to bid when we don't have the completed project as far as permitting.
The item before you is authorizing when the project's ready, that staff will authorize them to take it to bid with the, aware that additional funds will be needed to award that bid. But this is not, the project at this point isn't ready to go out to bid. We're trying to get ahead of issues that when we became aware that the cost estimate for construction was going to push us well over the budgeted amount in SPOS 2016, we decided to bring it to the Board of Commissioners through the Finance Committee so we could have that authorization when it was needed.
So they've been paid to do the engineering to this point?
Yes, sir.
And then now they want another $48,000 just to take the median out?
That's the next item, yes, sir.
Yeah, I've got an issue with that, but where are we at on this one?
Well, I guess,
Yeah, I don't know how we're moving ahead with something we don't have a complete.
If y'all prefer, we can bring this item back when we're closer to releasing the bid for the project.
I think that makes more sense in my mind. I don't know about the rest of y'all.
I agree. Well, we're not ready to bid. I mean, it's just saying, okay, we bid, but we've got a lot of due diligence still to complete before we're ready.
Yes, sir.
So I'll just would make a motion to defer it, or maybe we don't need a motion.
I got it, yeah.
Okay.
You want it? Do not authorize. With this alternative, the staff will continue to work on the acquisition and permitting of this project. However, staff will not be able to bid the project until additional funds are identified. All right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. When we're closer to it, we'll bring it back to y'all.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Any further discussion?
I just want to say one thing. You know, there was a lot of narrative about lack of completion of projects, especially from SPLOST 2016. And this is an example of why projects are tough to get done and need the time and need the funding. Because a lot of the stuff that we're talking about is right-of-way acquisition and permitting. And those don't always go smoothly or expediently. So it's just a problem that you encounter in any project, especially with SPLOST. So, you know, normally people say, well, go ahead and get this bid out and get a price, and get done with it. But you can't until you've got the permits and acquisition finalized and know what you're looking at. And design, which we're taking up in the next thing. All right, thank you.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second. No further discussion. All in favor, raise your right hand. Item number 12. Finance Committee does not recommend authorizing the bidding past 3-0. Did I get that correct, Mr. Worley? Okay. Item 13, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve the addition of 4 seasonal beach lifeguard positions, 1 senior lifeguard, and 3 lifeguards, and the purchase of supplies and equipment to place a guard team at Gould's Inlet, during peak season beginning summer 2021, and amend the Recreation and Parks Department's FY21 budget by increasing revenues and expenditures in the amount of $61,900 each, with funding be provided by the Accommodations Excise Tax Fund balance. Ms. Greganis.
Lisa Gerganis, Recreation and Parks Director. Good afternoon. At the Board of Commissioners work session last Tuesday, there was a discussion about the possibility of adding a guard team at Gould's Inlet for summer of 2021. The discussion at the board meeting seemed to be in support of doing this in the immediate future, so we are bringing this forward today for consideration to amend the Recreation and Parks budget to allocate the funds to add the team as well as purchase the equipment needed to place a guard team there this summer.
Commissioners, any questions, comments?
This is for one half the summer,
Yes, sir. That's correct.
to be clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, we need the lifeguards out there. As you know, I'm not so thrilled at some of the numbers. We've discussed that. Any updates on those conversations?
Well, we did add the thermal imaging gear as part of the budget. That's why it's a little bit higher than it was when we discussed the numbers at the work session. Staff still believes that the equipment that we've requested is needed and reasonable for the team at Gould's. But certainly, if you want us to draw back on that and do something different, we can do that.
Well, it's getting close to summer. We need to move it forward. I was still just not happy with the numbers on it.
Lisa, I have a question. I used to own a condo in St. Augustine, and the beach patrol down there would use a four-wheel drive pickup. And on top of that, they had a rack where they had their kayaks or whatever they used to go out. I'm wondering if the county has a vehicle we could use instead of buying the Kubota. And if not, I'm okay with the Kubota, but I'm wondering if maybe if we should look at a different, I think a vehicle that's going to last longer than these UTVs.
Well, yes, sir. We do have a beach vehicle. I think it was purchased for last summer, but the truck that we got was the hand-me-down truck from Public Works. The new truck went to Public Works, so we got a 2007 beach truck that's a four-wheel drive truck, but we use that in the Coast Guard Massengale area along with the other equipment in that area. But if y'all wanted us to try to make do with that, or if there is another vehicle available, we could look at that. The concern is, with, you're rolling back and forth down the beach in that residential area. And I know, I haven't discussed it with DNR lately, but in previous conversations with DNR, they don't like vehicles on the beach, number one. But because it's a public safety thing, I know they would authorize our ability to go back and forth on the beach. But you're talking about the compaction and stuff in that area, getting into the high tide, the high water mark on the sand. I mean, those are, with the shifting sands, I think a utility vehicle would be more practical getting back and forth from that area than a truck. But because we will be driving from Coast Guard down to Gould's.
Okay, that's a good point. Thank you.
To some extent. I think you can drive a truck, and we've talked about this. I don't think it needs to be running on the beach down that length. You can faster going down Bruce Drive. They can park down there at Gould's Inlet, and we have emergency parking vehicle, and where we need them is right in that curve and that curvature and that point right there, because that current is in the steep drop is where these incidents happen. And, it's there and in that point, and that's where we should have our guards posted.
I think my concern would be the jet ski, getting the jet ski down. I mean, we could launch the jet ski at Coast Guard and drive it around to Gould's every day and have it on the beach and, beached instead of trailered down there if that's what we needed to do.
Well, I understand that too.
Yes, sir.
But I grew up on the beach. I've fortunately been a part of a lot of rescues on the beach, and I've done it in kayaks and canoes. And, it's just, it's having a person there. It's having the equipment that can see them and track them, and then responding right there. And usually, and my concern too is the hours. I think it's more around the evening hours when come out there and on high tides.
Do you have this in next year's budget already?
What I put in next year's budget was a Kubota. I did not put a jet ski in next year's request, but everything else was requested in the fiscal year 22 budget. So if that's something that we need to, we don't have a jet ski at Gould's now. If we need to hold off on that purchase to possibly, the future budget year, we could certainly do that.
Well, it's a public safety issue, and I'm not against it.
Me either. And Jekyll doesn't provide lifeguards and life-saving equipment like we do.
No, sir. And I didn't mention at the work session last week, but in the off-season, we store the jet ski at the fire station, and certainly if we had a second jet ski, that could be stored there as well in the off-season, and they have full access to it during the off-season, because that's who responds after hours and during the off-season. They have access to that equipment.
It seems like to me, one of the advantages of having the second jet ski, jet skis can be temperamental. And if one goes down, you at least still have the second one. And based on what research I've done in regards to some of these incidents, the ability to get out there quickly is very beneficial. And it also helps us if we have 2 or 3 out there at one time, because I know we've in many times have to rely on Sea Island to send their jet skis out to help recover some folks. I think last year we had a group of 5 that had to be rescued, and
Yes,
we had
sir.
to depend on a fisherman out there. So my thought process would be it's good to have 2 in case one goes down. If not, we have 2 for that area. I think it's going to be a very busy summer. My suggestion to the commission would be to let's go ahead and do this.
Yeah, we'll move it forward. Again, I'm interested in iZone and fast response. I'm a Master Coast Guard captain, have been for almost 50 years now, and I have to train in this all the time. iZone is number one thing in the bobbing, so if somebody's up and down trying, gasping for air, that's why those thermal image binoculars or scopes, and I will review the equipment we picked out, are important, because whether it's day or night, you can see that individual in the waves. And I know that that's difficult when somebody's going up and down to find that wave, and then you lose sight of them. Fast response is like a paddleboard. I mean, jet ski, that's great, but it's time and quick. So I think they should have a paddleboard that they can jump on, ride with that tide, because this mainly happens in an outgoing tide. Paddleboard, one guard can get on and get to that person while the other one has got eyes on. That's the way they train us in the Coast Guard to do it. So, the jet ski is cumbersome. It's launch. It's good follow-up. It's needed. But the first is quick response while they're close by before they get out the inlet and out to sea and really hard to find. We'll continue the discussion, and I appreciate you working on it, and it is public safety, so I don't have any problem moving it forward, but I'll probably pull it again at the meeting for further discussion, and we'll just continue to engage in the plan.
All right, we have a motion.
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the addition of 4 seasonal beach lifeguard positions, 1 senior lifeguard, and 3 lifeguards, and the purchase of supplies and equipment to place the guard team at Gould's Inlet during peak season beginning summer 2021, and amend the Recreation and Parks Department's fiscal year 21 budget by increasing revenues and expenditures in the amount of $61,900, with funding to be provided by the Accommodations Excise Tax Fund balance.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have any further discussion?
There's one other comment, is take a look at the evening hours. The flow of traffic's there on the beach, but I think there's another flow of people that come out there in the late afternoon when it cools down a little bit. And typically we don't have anybody on the beach after hours, so to speak, of what your budget is. Just kind of look at that time frame, because it doesn't get dark 8:30. A lot of people are down there at 6:30. They're not swimming, but they're walking, fall on that edge, wade out, and they're gone. Thanks.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 13 passes 3-0. Item 14, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners authorize the transfer of $10,800 from facilities maintenance, recreation, repairs, and maintenance to facilities maintenance, capital buildings, improvements to purchase a new storage shed at Sheldon Park. Lisa.
Thanks, Commissioners. So we're coming forward today wanting to use some of Dave's money for some things at Sheldon Park. We have a small storage shed at Sheldon Park that currently houses 2 Skag mowers, a Toro ball field drag tractor, utility vehicle. The existing shed is an old concrete building, and it's not a lot of workspace in there for the staff to be able to work on projects at Sheldon. And we approached the Facilities Maintenance Division about the possibility of adding an extension to that shed, or doing something that would give us some more space there and gives a better workspace for our maintenance folks at Sheldon Park. They went out for bid and came back with some quotes on a shed that, it's kind of far away, but it kind of looks something like this. I know it's a small photo, but something like that would have a garage door, some workspace for staff, and the ability to house all of the equipment. And so we're in talking with facilities. They have the money available. It's just that this purchase is a capital purchase as opposed to an operating expense. So we're coming forward today to ask for your approval to move the funds from an operating account to a capital account so that we can move forward with purchasing this shed for Sheldon.
And this is to supplement the current concrete structure that you have.
Yes, sir.
Are you able to feel like that you'll be able to secure it?
That is certainly a concern, and yes, sir, I do believe we'll be able to secure that, because we certainly don't want equipment stolen.
Mm-hmm. And we get to use Mr. Austin's money, you said?
It's always a good thing.
Always good to use Mr. Austin's money. Commissioners, any other comments? Do we have a motion?
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners authorize the transfer of $10,800 from facilities maintenance / recreation repairs and maintenance to facilities maintenance - capital buildings and improvements to purchase a new storage shed at Sheldon Park.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. All right, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 14 passes 3-0. Item 15, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners award a contract for IFB number 01194 Kings Park Tennis Pickleball Court resurfacing project to McGrath Industries, DBA Talbot Tennis, in the amount of $36,300, with funding to be provided by the FY 2021 Capital Projects Fund. Mr. Ganis.
Thank you, Commissioners. Hopefully this is going to be the last time for a little while that we bring forward something that has the word pickleball in it. But we're bringing forward to you today a request to resurface the 2 courts at Kings Park, which, Commissioner Quinn, you were on the commission. If you recall the meeting that we had back in May of 2019, it was a public hearing about tennis court items, and a lot of the community came forward complaining about the cracks in the courts. And so we were fortunate you guys approved money in the fiscal year 20 budget to move forward with resurfacing those courts. Due to trying to phase things in a certain way, those funds were not able to be used in fiscal year 20. The Board of Commissioners approved carrying forward the monies for the tennis court resurfacing to fiscal year 21, and that was for the 4 courts at Epworth and then the 2 courts at Kings Park. The total budget that was carried forward was $56,000. The first portion of that project, the Epworth Park courts, the back 4 courts, were recently resurfaced at a cost of just under $20,000. So we went out to bid earlier this year as a joint project, and it came in very high over budget. So when we split them up, we've got and revised the scope of work for Kings Park. We went out for bid and got a much better cost that actually came within our budget. We only received 1 bid for the project, and that bid again was to McGrath Industries, DBA Talbot Tennis. It was $36,803, and that is going to help us get those 2 courts at Kings Park resurfaced and get those cracks filled.
Did they not have the cracks at Epworth that they have?
No, sir, they did
Because
not.
I went yesterday, and
Yes,
there's some, they're bigger, they're not tiny cracks.
They're significant, yes, sir.
And-
No, sir, the Epworth courts were not as in bad a shape as the Kings Park courts were.
And the way they plan to fill them will last. That was my question yesterday.
Yes, sir. It is, the fabric crack repair system is considered a long-term fix for the cracks. So it will address the 1,700 linear feet of cracks that are on the court currently. It is not going to necessarily prevent future cracking in other areas. I mean, there's not going to be a tennis court vendor who's going to guarantee that no cracks will appear in the future. But though this system, it's almost like they fill these large cracks, they smooth it down, then they put it's not duct tape, but it's a strip.
It's probably a mesh tape.
It's a mesh type tape, maybe it's like a fiberglass thing, and they put that down, and then they smooth it over and coat it, and then they come in with the acrylic resurfacer and they bond it so that it holds the membranes together, so you prevents those areas from future cracking. But there's significant cracks on that court. The smaller cracks will not be filled with that system. They will just be filled with a patch binder that will fill the hairline cracks is what I like to call them. But the significant cracks will be the ones that will be filled with this system.
Can I ask Mr. Deloach a question? David, can you, please, sir? Are you aware of the way they repair these cracks?
Yes, sir.
And that, I know they're doing it in buildings where you've got a slab that has a problem.
Right.
They come in, they cut a V in, and then they fill it, they put the mesh over it, and they put
Yes, sir.
a bonding a liquid or something on top. This is the same thing, right?
Very similar. However, about every 4th year, you can look to resurface the court again.
Because of the cracking.
It's not milling the whole thing up and putting a new base and paving in.
Right. Well, and I went out there yesterday afternoon, and I told Lisa, there's a crack right down the center between the two courts.
Yes.
It looks like it wants to separate.
Yes, sir.
And then on the court closest to the baseball fields, there's a area about like this where it looks like it's going to chip out.
I'm familiar with all of it.
And I just wanted to make sure that, are we putting a Band-Aid on something, or is there something else we should do?
Depends on how long your definition of Band-Aid is, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
How much money you continue to want to reapply.
Well, the only other thing is to tear them out, pour a new slab, and start over.
The best solution for the budget is what Ms. Lisa has proposed.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Thank you, Lisa.
I have a motion.
I recommend the Board of Commissioners award a contract for IFB number 01194 Kings Park Tennis, I hate to say this word, pickleball court resurfacing project to McGrath Industries, DBA Talbot Tennis in the amount of $36,300 with funding to be provided by the FY 2021 Capital Projects Fund.
All right, I have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Any further discussion? Is that the correct amount? I thought I heard you say a minute ago $36,830.
I apologize. Yes, sir, you're correct. The remaining balance in the budget is $36,803. The actual project is $36,300. I apologize. Yes, sir.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Item number 15 passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve a new contract with Elevon Merchant Processing Service for online payment processing, revised to include a 2.75% convenience fee charge to cover the online credit card charges for community development, and rescind the previous contract approved on February 4th, 2021. Ms. Bragdon.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners. Deborah Bragdon, Interim IT Director. I brought this contract to y'all in January at Finance, and y'all approved it. It's for the N4, which is our community development software, so that we've been using Elevon for about a year now as our payment processor for the community development software, like when people apply online for applications or permits. And anyway, the agreement that I submitted in February that y'all approved to Elevon, their agreement had changed at the first of the year, and I would have brought this back to y'all last month, but the vendor tried to push this through and he couldn't. So this is actually a revised form. It's a 1020 that the company had pushed through at the beginning of the year. So I'm asking you to approve it again and rescind the old one.
Approve it again, resend the new one or the old one?
The old one. The one that y'all approved in February, at the February 4th meeting.
But I thought that was the one that was the previous contract.
It was, we had brought it in December, and that was the wrong contract too. So it was the wrong contract for 2020. Evidently, they've got a contract for 2021 now.
And that's what we're approving, 2021 contract?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
correct? Okay. Commissioners, any comments or questions? Do I have a motion?
I move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners approve a new contract with Elevon Merchant Processing Services for online payment processing to include a 2.75% convenience fee charge to cover the online credit card charges for community development and rescind the previous contract approved on February 4th, 2021.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 16 passes 3-0.
Thank you.
17, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners authorize staff to issue a purchase order to the sole bidder, Omicron Technologies, for Glynn County, 20% portion of the E-rate purchase in the amount of $6,516.90 with funding provided by the FY21 Capital Projects Fund. Mr. West.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. David West, Network Engineer in the IT Department. So E-rate is an FCC program where they provide 80% of the funding and we would have to provide 20% of the funding. Jerry is available on Teams to answer any library-specific questions, but we have been very fortunate to use E-rate since we took over the libraries a couple of years back. We've been doing Category 1, that's for network and leased circuits, connectivity, that type of stuff, but we would like to expand it to Category 2, and that's hardware. And so we only got one response back, and if we invest a little over $6,000 of IT hardware capital, we can get over $30,000 of public Wi-Fi equipment. So this will be for the libraries and expand our capabilities in public Wi-Fi.
Ms. Mullis, any comments?
No, just that this is, oh, sorry for the feedback. This is a great program. We love it. So we're very fortunate. This is for schools and public libraries only. So it's nice that we get to be able to benefit from it.
Wonderful. Any further comments or questions, Commissioners? If not, do I have a motion?
Move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners authorize staff to issue a purchase order for the sole bidder, Omicron Technologies, for Glynn County's 20% portion of the E-rate purchase for the amount of $6,516.90 with funding provided by the FY21 Capital Funds Projects Fund.
I have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 17 passes 3-0.
All right, thank you.
Item 18, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners award Sea Island Causeway Sidewalk Addition rebid to the Curb and Gutter Professionals, Inc. of Jessup, Georgia, in the amount of $153,440, with $107,544 to be provided by the SPLOST 2016 project line and $45,896 to be provided by the SPLOST 2016 excess funds. Mr. Alston.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, you might remember that we brought this before you as a combined bid a few months ago, and we were over. And so we separated the two projects, this project and Frederica Road sidewalk, and we rebid them. And then this is the bid that came back in at $153,440 for the sidewalk and the culvert extension to bring the sidewalk down from Hamilton down into Dimry. It's taken, for some reason, it's taken a long time. This particular one has had permitting issues and other issues, and but it's very anticipated projects by the folks that are on the other side of Hamilton wanting to safely cross Sea Island Road. And you know, they all want a blinking light right there at Hamilton, but this is the proper way, is to take them down to the intersection and cut them across at the stoplight.
So that'll be on the west side of the road?
Yes, sir. And that's why we've left the silt screen from the previous job is still there. So this contractor will fall in on that silt screen and put the sidewalk in, extend the culvert out. And that's what took a little bit of time, was the extension of the culvert, so that we got the sidewalk away from the road.
Commissioners, any questions or comments?
So on the west side, wait a minute, I'm
Yes, sir,
confused.
it's on the west side. There's already a sidewalk on the east side that goes up and kind of goes into the back of Frederica Academy.
Right.
And the problem is that people go up that sidewalk, and then they're stuck there fighting the traffic to get across right there at Hamilton.
So this is where we've put the culvert in, right?
Who put the culvert goes in right there at the end of right there as you make the curve going on to Demery Road.
So Hamilton Landing, they're still going to have to cross Sea Island Road to get to the sidewalk, right? Am I correct?
Hamilton.
They're on the same side as Frederica Academy.
Yeah, those folks would just come down the existing sidewalk. Well, there's no sidewalk
There's
going
no
up,
sidewalk.
up there. No, sir. This will be Hamilton Road, and the folks that live over at
Oh, it goes to the marina. I'm sorry, Dave.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Marina and the park over there.
Okay.
All right, any other?
Mariners Landing, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners award Sea Island Causeway Sidewalk Addition rebid to Curb and Gutter Professionals of Jessup, Georgia, in the amount of $153,440, with $107,544 to be provided from the SPLOST 2016 project line, and $45,896 to be provided by the SPLOST 2016 excess funds.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Item number 18 passes 3-0. Item number 19, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners award the Frederica Road Improvements rebid to M. Mitchell Group of Carrollton, Georgia, the lowest responsive bidder, in the amount of $351,264.50, with funding provided by the SPLOST 2016. Mr. Austin.
So we want to change that. Okay, that was the original memo, and we had a late-breaking memo last night.
I apologize. Let me read it.
Okay.
Item 19, as amended, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners award the Frederica Road Sidewalk Improvements rebid to the lowest qualified, responsive, and responsible bidder, Allen Owens Construction of Blackshear, Georgia, in the amount of $436,380, with funding provided by SPLOST 2016.
Mr. Owens has done work for us before. We have been satisfied with his work. The apparent low bidder at the bid opening, M. Mitchell Group from Carrollton, Georgia, did not submit a responsive bid. And we had some extensive work done by our purchasing officer, Jason Hagan, that's in the memo that talks about the times and directives that he tried to get the pre-bid package squared away, and they were non-responsive. In addition to that, Mr. Deloach reviewed the references, called the references, and did not receive any favorable references from that contractor. So 99% of the time, we recommend the lowest bid that's opened, but in this case, the lowest responsive bidder is Mr. Allen Owens of Blackshear for $436,380. And so we recommend that the board award it to him. It is a responsive increase, and Mr. Worley was also involved in this. Thank you, Will, as far as reviewing the particulars of this. But the quote of 436 and the quote from, that we received at 469 were more in keeping with the estimate that Mr. Deloach thought we were gonna hit.
Dave, I've got a question. In what we've got, it shows Frederica Sidewalk renovation 2021 rebid, bid number 00192. It shows Allen Owens Construction and Paving 3921, $176,620. Then it shows Swindell of Glenville, $159,583. Then it shows Curb and Gutter Professionals, $153,440. And then the Mitchell Group of Carrollton, $200,147.20. I'm not getting where we're getting the 436.
Oh, no, the 200 one is, you're looking at the other sidewalk bid. The paper that I have, Mr. Owens is the lowest bidder.
We're on number 19.
We're on number 19. Okay?
There must be a mix-up, because what I'm seeing, and I can't put it up, but I read you, they go from 200, 147, all the way down to 153, 440.
The 153, 440 and the 200 bids are for the other sidewalk. I don't know how they're on that, whatever piece of paper you're looking at. No, I'm looking at the write-up. Well, the bottom line is we received 4 bids. Oh, I got you. You're looking at the thing on the back.
Yes.
Absolutely, that is incorrect. I don't know how that got there. That is incorrect. Those are the bid tabs. Those bid tabs are not for Federica Road, but those bid tabs are for Sea Island Road.
Our confusion is they say Frederica Sidewalk.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
I'm sorry.
You're exactly right. Yes.
Do we have the bid tabs for this one? Is it on?
We have the bid tabs for this one. I don't know where they are, but we have the bid tabs. But in the letter that you have are the 4 bids on the first paragraph. Do you have the 22 March letter in your possession?
We have a March 11th. I see a March 11th background where it says Allen Owens 436 380.
Okay.
I found it, Dave.
Okay.
Give me a minute to look it over.
I apologize for that. I was concentrating on the verbiage of the letter and bypassed the bid tab part on the back.
Is our purchasing new, is it Mr. Hagan, is that correct? Yes, sir. Hagan, you're comfortable with the numbers that were being presented here as being correct as to what was bidded out and what we should be receiving?
Yes, sir. I gave each of them from the responses given.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you feel like there's no confusion in regards to this, is that correct?
No, sir. There's no confusion. I believe we've got it right here for you.
All right.
I see the additionally part of this too, where the references were checked.
Correct.
Right, David?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's a 351,000.
That's Mitchell, 351. The next one should be, well, that's Swindell at 369, and then there's Allen Owen at 336. 436, excuse me, and then you've got E&D contracting at 524. Should be the last one. Those are the bid tabs that should go with this memo.
We don't have that.
I understand, yes, sir.
All right, commissioners, any other comments, or do we have a motion? Would y'all like to just pass this on to the board and have it represented to the board without a vote?
Yeah, it's a pretty big jump.
We can recommend it to the board and then just pull it for further discussion if you'd like that. Would that be good with you?
Whatever y'all want to do.
Either way.
Let's go ahead and recommend it, and then we'll pull it for discussion. Do you have a motion?
What do you, we don't want to recommend what we've got.
No, they're going to recommend on this one. 436.
Commissioners, I'm sorry to interrupt you. If you could turn your mics on when you're discussing this so people
on.
can hear you. Okay.
It's on. You want to send it back to the board? I don't know.
What,
Well,
my,
if-
my,
well, if we
suggestion,
wanna
my
send-
suggestion would be to approve it for the 436 and bring it back to and pull it for the board for their discussion and representation so that everybody is comfortable with what has been presented.
I got it. Consider recommending the Board of Commissioners award the Frederica Road sidewalk improvement rebids to the lowest qualified bidder, responsive, and responsible bidder. Allen Owens Construction of Blackshear, Georgia, in the amount of $436,380, with funding to be provided by SPLOST 2016.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Well, let me just be clear on something. Then if we're doing it this way, it's going to come on the meeting sheet as a consent item agenda.
Well,
correct?
well, we can pull it, we can go ahead and pull it at the end of this meeting and say that we want this not to be on consent, but for regular discussion.
That's correct. Your last item on your agenda is to identify the items that would go on the consent agenda, so you can always designate this one to go on general business.
Okay.
I think
just
it
want
just,
to make sure.
I think it'd just be good to just make sure it's represented in public one more time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 19 passes 3-0. Item 20, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve the second option year contract for striping and pavement marking with various county roads with roadside specialties per unit price bid in the total amount not to exceed $75,000. The funding be provided by the FY21 Capital Funds Project. Mr. Alston.
So hopefully this is a little easier than the last one. This is a second-year option on our striping contract.
Any questions or comments, commissioners? All right, do we have a motion?
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the second option year contract with striping and pavement marking of various county roads and roadside specialties per unit price bid in a total amount not to exceed $75,000, with funding to be provided by the FY21 Capital Projects Fund.
We've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 20 passes 3-0.
Thank you, Dave.
Item 21, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve the issuance of a purchase order, Sapelo Equipment Company of Brunswick, Georgia, for the Kubota RTV 520-H with a quote of $10,700. Mr. Alston.
Yes, sir. So this started in our budget process when we're sitting in front of the budget team with two 17-year-old pickup trucks and a couple of Kubotas, and one is a 2013 Kubota that's rusted out. And this is for our park maintenance folks. They go from park to park, use the Kubota with a little wagon to empty the trash cans. And so this was, since we had some money saved from not having to procure bathrooms during the 4th of July and some of the other events that were COVID related, we scooped up $10,700, and we'd like to purchase this ahead of the season so that it's ready for the summer season.
Questions or comments? Have a motion?
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the issuance of a purchase order, Sapelo Equipment Company of Brunswick, Georgia, for the Kubota RTV 520-8 with a quote of $10,700.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 21 passes 3-0.
Good job on that one, Dave.
22, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners exercise the first-year option for tree removal and maintenance services with Jones Maintenance Company of St. Simons Island, with funding be provided by the FY 22 Public Works Department operating budget effective July 1st, 2021.
So I'm here before you again with the tree service. We did this last month, but last month I had the incorrect bid tab on the back. Kind of like I did this month on the other one. All right, so I think the third time's I'll be out of here, but the second, I'll get it right third time. So this one is the correct one. This is Jones Tree Service. They've been working for this county ever since I've been here. Andy Jones is an arborist, does an outstanding job on our trees, and recommend approval. And you can see on the bid tabs on the back, it says slight increase over the years. So this would be a option base year.
Commissioners, any questions or comments?
First year option.
All right, do we have a motion?
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners exercise the first-year option for tree removal and maintenance services with Jones Maintenance Company of St. Simons Island, with funding to be provided by the FY 22 Public Works Department operating budget effective July 1, 2021.
I have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
A motion is second, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 22 passes 3-0. Item 23, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve a request for staff to develop a scope of work and solicit an IFB for construction of the East Beach Roundabout Planner and additional traffic signage for truck reroute requirements. Mr. Austin.
This is a request from the District 2 Commissioner for a planter inside the existing roundabout at Ocean and East Beach. With the exception of the fact that the Garden Club, Live Oak Garden Club, I think in the previous, you might have seen in a previous recommendation, has decided that the muhly grass around the perimeter was not feasible due to no irrigation. So we have a couple of pictures that Commissioner Findig wanted me, or videos to show, but that's what this is about. This is about to, we have a design, to put the design out and come back to you with the design is, to come back with the cost.
Commissioners, a couple things on here. I asked Dave to bring this particular picture because people want to know why that roundabout cost $1 million instead of $300,000 or $400,000. And that's the structure that was built underneath that roundabout to support that type of truck. My contention has been that type of truck doesn't need to be making that kind of route through the roundabout or around the roundabout. They can go right. As you can see, that's not the way normal traffic would drive. So we've come up with a plan to beautify that red hole. And the other is, there's some of the construction, I don't know if you can see it carefully, but that's not like the rest of our roundabouts. That's solid rebar and thick undergirdings underneath and concrete. There's no water that you can drill through to get there, or electric. That's built to hold the weight of that truck and the tractor that would be sitting on that truck. So that doesn't need to be happening. That type of vehicle doesn't need to be happening coming over, there you go, going over that roundabout in that manner. I think it can go through and right, but I think the best thing is it's just not allowed to go through that roundabout. And then we move ahead with the planner that we talked about. You have that, I know the commissioners have already seen it. I sent that out to East Beach Association. I mean, that's why that roundabout cost $1 million. Our roundabout's not built like that all the way around the circle. I just like to make that statement public. Anyway, sent the design out to the East Beach Association and the homeowners. Everybody came up with a really glad thumbs up, glad to see it. Thank you to the commission for doing that. So we're moving that project forward. Thank you for the pics, Dave.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, do I have a motion?
First of all, Cap, I respect what you're doing, but I think in the SPLOST vote, we were told about roundabouts, and we were told about, I understand what you're doing, but I can't support this one, but so I'm gonna let you make the motion.
Sure.
Please, sir.
Can't support the planter in the middle?
No, just, you know, to me, if we were gonna put a planter in there, we should have put it in when we built the roundabout. You know, we got slapped on the hand. Nope, people didn't get out and vote, but the people that did vote told us no roundabouts. You know, first of all, that roundabout was contentious from the time it was built. So, you know, I support about everything that we come up with, but this one I just can't do it. But that doesn't mean we can't. We're still gonna vote on it. So.
Right. Well, the citizens of East Beach have told me they're tired of seeing toilets put out in the middle of that thing and other items, and asked specifically that we do something a little more decorative for the center and more becoming to our community. So I have no problem pushing this forward and doing that.
Well, I tell you what, I'll make the motion. I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners to approve a request for staff to develop a scope of work and solicit an IFB for construction of the East Beach Roundabout Planner, associated curb island, additional traffic signage for truck reroute requirements. And the Garden Club came out, so we can stop right there, right? Thank you.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
And second,
Any further discussion?
just one item, Dave, we talked about palm trees or sago palms in there. We talked about the watering issue on there. How are we handling the palm trees over at the Coast Guard Park?
I have a guy watering them.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So I plant somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 to 200 trees on the island, and he waters them. Okay? So, I mean, we can plant less trees and water this roundabout.
All right, well, great. We'll look forward to seeing some trees that get watered just like the ones do at the park. So, appreciate it.
All right, so we have
Second.
a motion and a second. Any further discussion? That's it? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. All against, raise your left. Item 23 passes by 2-1 vote.
Thank you, Dave.
We will pull that
Yes,
for
sir.
discussion for the meeting, just for. Item 24, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve the additional funding for the purchase of $220,800 in wetland credits necessary to obtain the Corps of Engineers permit for the construction of Pinnock Road. Approve $1,800 for the right-of-way acquisition and award the contract to Littlefield Construction for the base bid amount of $5,373,520, or bid alternate number 1 in the amount of $5,040,870, with $2,559,134 to be provided by SPLOST 2016 project line, and $3,036,986 to be provided by the SPLOST 2006 excess funds. Mr. Alston.
So this is the paving of Pinnock Road, and I've given you a bunch of alternatives, and there's even an alternative I don't have on here. And this is a tough bid. The bid actually came in at about $6 million to pave the entire road, which is about what the engineer said it would be. Basically, we put out many different options, four or five different options, and two were different kinds of paving. One was a different kind of paving option, and one was only paving 1 mile of the road, and then another one was not paving the road and just doing the dirt work, and that came in at $4 million. When I say dirt work, so the idea is fix the drainage, get the mitigation credits, get the right-of-way, and fix the dirt road, okay? Then it's a question of how much do you pave, okay? Or there's a question of not doing all that repair and just doing a section of the road, which we didn't attack this time. We attacked it this way, okay? So you may decide a couple of options here. You may decide, because if you do award this, as Tamara will tell you, you're using up quite a bit of your SPLOST excess funds. So when this was designed, it was designed under SPLOST 2016 when they said dirt road paving. And they said, well, we want to pave as much of Pinnock Road as we can. Okay, and the previous commissioner wanted to pave as much of Pinnock Road as he can. Current commissioner doesn't want to pave much of Pinnock Road. So we're offering many different options for the commissioners to think about, and that's why I sent an email out earlier with some of the options on it.
Dave,
Sir.
the additional funding for purchase of $220,800 in wetland credits, when we talked that day, were we going to fix all the areas where it floods over now?
We're going to raise the road up to a certain level, okay, that hopefully the water will not overtop. However, on occasion, depending on how high the river gets, the water may overtop. But if it does overtop the road, at least we'll have an asphalt road, kind of like we got going down to the park. Water will flow over the road, and we won't have, hopefully won't have washouts like we do right now. Right now, when we get a good water overtopping the road, we get a washout, and we have to go repair it.
I saw the pictures recently.
Yes, sir.
So if we do the minimum, the credits we're getting, that carries us through the whole project? Or are we getting something now that we could get in the future?
So the credits carry us through the whole project. So we thought it was, Mr. Deloach and I thought it was important to get the credits, get the right-of-way, do the mitigation while everything is still favorable. The credits at $10,000 a pop actually are going up, and we've got a note today saying that one of the credit banks doesn't have any more credits, and now Savannah may be trying to buy some of our credits. I'm not quite sure how all that works, but I understand that $10,000 a credit is actually a deal compared to what other folks pay. So our concern, and I don't know if this is true or not, but our concern is if we only do half of the road and then we leave the rest of the half of the road not done, it may not get finished because environmental regulations, credits, right away, we'll have to resurvey the road, all that stuff will have to be done again. So that was our concern about doing the whole road. And I'll let Dave come up here and talk a little bit about this because he's been knee deep in it. If you want.
Well, I just had some questions about the credits, and I'm okay with the credits, especially because I understand as we have had a change in Washington, these things may change. So,
they may change. The mitigation standards may change. The wetland standards may change. Yeah, things could evolve.
Well, I guess the question I've got, maybe Alan might be part of this. How much do we foresee having left in 2016? I mean, if we did this project in its entirety, would we not have enough to fund something else in 16, or?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Commissioner Rafalski, and Tamara might be able to give us the exact number of how much is left now, but I have a concern with allocating $3 million over budget at this point in time. And the reason why is we still have two other major projects. One is Canal Road.
Yes, sir.
My understanding from the, although it wasn't said earlier, my understanding from the engineer's estimate, that could be $700,000 or $800,000 more than the budget. And then the intersection of Altama and the Spur, that's a major project, and we don't know that yet. So in talking with Mr. Austin earlier, one of the things he suggested is just, sort of deferring this for now. I think it's important, if we can, to get the credits because of the unknown certainty with those in the future. If we can, you might want to defer this until we have all the numbers. Am I missing any big projects, or those are two?
No, that's
three left.
it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, Paul, but yeah, I've just got one left.
Yeah.
What was the original amount set aside for this project?
Well, for Pinnock Road,
Yes.
the discussion was we want $3 million for dirt road paving.
In
And
the
I want to,
2016.
and I want to pave as much of Pinnock Road as we can.
So
There was never an estimate to say, this is how much Pinnock Road is going to cost to pave.
So there's $2 million left in that out of that $3 million, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
so for that amount of money, we can only pave how much? I mean, where are we
Well-
coming up with the additional $3 million? Is that I'm missing, that's doing the whole thing?
Yes, sir.
That's paving the whole road?
Yes, 4.8 miles, go ahead.
It became important when we were looking at this project to know that we had to have right-of-way from one end to the other. The rest of Pinnock Road, from the time you get off Old Jessup and head north, we have established right-of-way. However, on this dirt portion, we had only the back of the ditch that they pulled with the grader to the back of the ditch. If we were ever to get right-of-way, the time to do it is when you survey for new curvatures to make more appropriate the curves that's out there along with the grading. You have to take the overall picture so that your curves can get lined up and where it ties in and all that. With the acquisition of all the property from DNR, it really made it advantageous to us because now we only have 3 owners out there. DNR has the mass of it with 2 other small owners, and compared to some of our other projects that we're working on, the price for the right-of-way is very inconsequential. As well, you have to go through and do the wetlands and have those surveyed in so that it can be put on a legal plat and recognized. The value in getting those wetlands credits now is because they're not going to be any cheaper. You have to buy from a land bank that's in your drainage basin. We are in the Altama Basin, which has substantially lower credit values than the ones in the Savannah River Basin, which are quickly being exhausted. Now, under that scenario, because there's no other land bank, they'll let those areas up there buy out of our bank. And when that happens, supply and demand, our prices go up drastically. So even if we don't fund but a small portion of this road, the fact that we have the right-of-way from one end to the other, and we have the permitting from the Corps, we as a county entity outside of a contract can go in and do work in those right-of-ways as if it was self-performance.
So it's critical that we go ahead and get these while we have them, while they have a deadline. When I leave here and Dave's gone, you have 5 years on these. You have to keep renewing them. Well, as we talked about Washington earlier, the fact that we have it today don't mean we're going to have it tomorrow. So I would recommend that we go ahead and acquire the right-of-way, get the permits at a minimum, and we discuss the construction.
Yeah, I personally agree with you on that. I just was curious how we've gotten up to 5 million in the total amount. I guess is what I'm concerned.
That we asked, when Sammy and I were down, we asked them for the whole, give us a price on the whole thing, give us a price on, we can pave 2 miles, Dave, is that correct, or 1 mile?
Now, sir, under every scenario, it builds this road bed in its entirety from end to end.
For 5,300,000 and...
For what was the one without asphalt? 4 million?
I'm just kind of confused with the numbers. I wasn't involved in the discussion.
The number was 4 million for the whole road for dirt.
4 million.
And then to pave a mile was 5 million, and to pave 2 miles, it was 6 million. So we recommended the pave the whole thing because that just seemed to be the advantageous number.
And that came in at $5,373,520.
I believe so.
That's what's on the sheet.
It was so close to having a hot mix asphalt like Seaboard typically puts down versus the 2 mile cost of putting a surface treatment, which is a little bit of hot mix, 2 layers of rock, and enough hot mix on top to bind the rocks in place. It would ride like a true paved road, but it's not the same asphalt. The difference in just doing the 2 miles and the whole 5 miles was, it just made sense to ask for the whole thing. But we do have a price in there with no asphalt, building the road from one end to the other. That way we have all of the drainage in, all of the guardrails, all the right-of-ways cleared, and all of the wetlands issues are worked out. But to start from end of pavement and just build a construction solid up to a point and stop, we did not do that. That was not requested at this time.
Mr. Chairman, there's currently 4.9 million left in unallocated funds in SPLOST 2016.
We still have 2 big projects
Yes,
in addition to this.
Yes, sir.
I think I got a motion for you if you want.
Okay.
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the additional funding for the purchase of $220,800 in wetland credits necessary to obtain Corps of Engineers permit for the construction of Pennock Road, and approve $1,800 for the right-of-way acquisition. And we'll stop there, because if you go beyond there, we'll be into isn't that what you're asking for, David?
That'll work. That's option number 6, which is basically, we'll go back to the bidder, see how long he can hold his bid price. We hope to get the Altama connector bid out here shortly. So we may have some clarification in a couple of months on what that number comes in at. And so then we'll have a better picture of
what we've got left, what we've got left to work with.
Yes, sir. That way we can keep our bids, come back to you on that. The other option would be, and if that slows up, then we'll go back to rebidding certain chunks of the road or something. But yes, I think that's the right thing to do as far as the credits and the right-of-way. Let's settle that and be prepared.
Well, the way they've got the alternatives here, we don't have, I'd have to go back up into your top and read that part of it. But I think what we're after is obtaining the right-of-way and the credits for now.
Correct.
And if we've got the money left over, we'll come back and do the second, not the asphalt, the hot asphalt, but the rock road. Is that your recommendation?
Well, we looked at that. The problem is that the difference between the rock road and getting another inch of asphalt wasn't that much money. So they made the asphalt road look pretty sweet when you compared it to the rock road and the dirt road.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was almost, you know, it was just a little bit more, you know, so you go, wow, you know, this is a better deal. So the full thing was the best deal. So that's why we recommended that.
Well, maybe they
But
can
we
just...
can come back to you on that as the picture clears up all these other bids.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, in addition to that, I know that we've discussed with the board in the general fund and undesignated fund balance, keeping that somewhat level around 15 million, and then any excess funds over that allocated to capital projects. And certainly a couple months from now, we should have a better understanding of where we are in the current fiscal year. So it might be a possibility for something you feel comfortable with once these other projects get bid, you know, if we don't have enough money in SPLOST to pull out some funds there. So we do have other options besides SPLOST.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor for the $220,800 in credits and $1,800 in right-of-way purchase at this point. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. 24 passes. The amended motion of 24 passes 3-0. 25, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners reject the bid for Harry Drigger's Pedestrian Trail South project from Swindle Construction, rescope and rebid project. Mr. Andrews.
Commissioners, this is another SPLOST 2016 project. This is the T-grant funded portion of the Harry Drigger's Trail. We went out to bid and the bids came in substantially over the estimated cost for the project. We only received one bid on it. This item requests that we go ahead and reject that bid, work with the engineer and Georgia DOT to rescope the project to reduce costs and get it back out to bid.
Okay, are there any questions or comments, Commissioners? Do I have a motion?
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners reject the bid for Harry Drigger's Pedestrian Trail South project from Swindell Construction, rescope and rebid the project.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 25 passes 3-0. 26, consider recommending the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 1, the amount of $48,000 with EMC Engineering for the Canal Road Improvements Project, engineering contract with funds currently allocated to the project in SPLOST 2016. Mr. Andrews.
Commissioners, this item is a follow-on to the item that I had at y'all's most recent work session. Request to the engineer was to cost the what it would cost to revise the plans for that project to remove the elevated and grass median for the portion of the project between Glencoe Parkway and the big Georgia DOT outfall ditch, and replace that with the center turn lane. This is the cost that our design engineer came up with to revise the plans that they had prepared for it.
Just out of curiosity, why are we doing this?
What we were asked to do was look at removing that center median to provide better access to the adjacent parcels. There were some concerns from the parcel owners expressed to county staff and board members that they felt that they wanted better access to making left turns off of their property. What we had designed was all the way up to the existing driveway for the Canal Road storage between the traffic signal at Academy Sports, and up there was a center turn lane that would provide all the driveways and intersections that full access turn, but heading from Canal Road storage driveway all the way up to Glencoe Parkway, that was going to be a divided 4-lane with the center median, grass median, and a median break. And so some of the property owners would have to, in order to, instead of making a left, they'd have to make a right U-turn and come back.
My question is, why was it designed that way in the first place? I mean, you know, you have residential issues there. Why was it not considered, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Oh, I'm sorry. What we did was pull the design of that road from more reflective of the future design for the intersections or the other roads that intersect at Harry Driggers and Glencoe Parkway. Those are all slated in at divided 4 lanes. We pulled the 5-lane section up to where on that section, larger tracks began. So we felt that was a good place to make that transition to the more parkway look that the other roads in that area had.
And by doing this, you think this will help you move the project forward because these homeowners are more inclined to go ahead and give you the permission for the right-of-way acquisition?
The property owners would be more in favor of the project with this.
What property owners do we have to secure before we can get that done?
My list is back there. I believe we've got 6 to go. We've got several on that we're holding up as far as median there at the intersection between Glencoe Parkway and McDavid Way. I believe y'all took action to prepare a letter and send it to them with assurances that that wouldn't have a median in that section. And this property owner that we have to acquire a driveway easement from is the property owners were concerned more about just their future access.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
What is a 4-lane flush median?
That's the center turn section.
So that's a center turn lane?
Yes, sir. It's the nomenclature that Georgia DOT uses.
And then where will the 20-foot grassed island be?
That's the part that this would remove that from the design.
So there was only 20 foot?
20 foot wide as you drive down.
20 foot wide, the whole distance from the car wash?
From the Canal Road self-storage. Out towards Gateway. Glencoe Parkway, yes, sir. That 20 foot provides enough for, at the median breaks, to have the lane and enough room for a U-turn. The vehicles, the 20-foot median provides enough room to allow for a U-turn.
I guess my question is, we didn't have it on the other end. Why did we want to put it that way? You know, when you leave the red light, come this way, you don't have any median.
That's correct.
And then we're going to go down. To me, it doesn't make sense to add something on that end that you didn't have on the other end. I'm sorry, that's just my thought. And I'm no engineer, trust me.
But when we put the concept plan together for this right-of-way widening, we looked at what the current accesses were out there. And for that section in between Glencoe Parkway, I'm sorry, Gateway Center, where the car wash is, and where Canal Road storage is, there's a lot of existing driveways, a couple of road and private access intersections. And we couldn't make, that distance wasn't enough to provide, I believe we were able to cram 1 median break in, but that would have a lot of uses having to go and make U-turns. And so when we concepted this, the corridor, we said that Canal Road storage seemed to be a logical end to change it from the very urban center turn lane to the divided 4-lane.
Yeah, and I think he's going into RV storage, so he wanted more.
Yes, sir. As the businesses along there, I believe they're interested in making sure that they have access.
And you also have a subdivision, sort of, down on the left, right?
Yes, sir. Ranger is. And he's.
You know, the only thing that bothers me is the amount that they're charging to change it. I mean, as I said, I'm no engineer, but it seems like they were paid handsomely to do the design in the beginning, right?
They were our low bidder.
Yeah.
And did that contract have some kind of change when their change order, or kind of formula for coming up with these figures? I mean,
No, sir. What we do on the change orders is request they put a project, a scope together for what it would cost for them to make the changes that we're requesting. So in the contract, we don't have anything.
Is there any value in the future to kind of have that formula already in a contract when they're bidding, such that we know X number of dollars per hour, this is the number of hours they're on the redrawing the scope? I mean, Obviously, they gave you a quote from 48,000. Do they break it down for you?
They did not. I can get that. I mean, they went through a hourly rate based on what their estimate was to change up, to revise the plans. They've got to do, I mean, it's a fair amount of work. They've got to revise road and utility sections, slide their utilities, redo some of the crossings. I mean, we were pretty far along in the design is why this, but
they didn't give you a breakdown of how they got to the 48,000?
other than what they provided me was the cost estimate that, with the scope of services that were listed here, but no, I did not, they did not provide a hourly or a breakdown on how they arrived at that number.
Is that typical, I guess, is what I'm asking? I mean, wouldn't that be typical if you were to ask for a bid to get sort of a breakdown of, okay, it's 48,000, this is the way I'm gonna break it down, X number of hours here, this is how much CAD time, I don't know, I'm kind of guessing.
But I can certainly get that. I'm sure that they have that. I don't have a good way to say, is that a good number? Do you really need 5 or 10 hours of CAD time? It didn't seem unreasonable given the size of the scope of the change that they were doing on the plans, but I'd be happy to get that for the board or for y'all we can go over it in detail.
Mr. Austin, do you ever see that on these change orders? They just typically give you a kind of bottom line price, or they break it down on some of the projects you deal with? Mr. Deloach?
Commissioner. As this is part of the design, if on the construction side, where we have unit pricing, is if we do change orders there, it's clearly broken out as to how much the unit pricing, based on the unit pricing. As this is the design side, like David said, is that we've got a overall, in the contract, there's a sheet that says change orders will be at this hourly rate, but we don't typically get the breakdown of how many hours it goes to, what they use to get to the number that they presented on the design side.
Ms. Thompson, did you want to say something?
Yes, sir. If you don't mind, thank you, Pamela Thompson. Another unique thing about this one is that the Canal Road widening project has to tie into the Canal Glencoe roundabout. And so even though they're two separate projects, we're having to be aware of of both of them as we move forward. So this has undergone some changes as that roundabout is now on its 6th concept design. So as we're making these changes, they have been pretty flexible with us about putting in design work to tweak things back and forth. And working between the two, but that's an additional thing to take into account, as every time we shifted the location of that roundabout, they had to shift how all the spokes of the roads would tie in. And so that's usually, in layman's terms, they build in some editing in that design work. We've just done so much editing on this project that we are at the point where we need to rescope to have this center turn lane for the whole length of the project.
Well, I mean, I appreciate the the explanation. I think people want to know and understand why it works out the way it does. So I do appreciate it. Commissioners, any other questions or comments, or is there a motion?
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners accept change order number 1 in the amount of $48,000 from EMC Engineering with funds currently allocated to the project in SPLOST 2016.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Item 26 passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Item 27, gentlemen, is there any items that you want to be pulled from the consent item to go straight to the commission for the meeting on Thursday?
Mr. Chairman, number 19 and number 23.
All right, we got a motion for 19 and 23. Is there any other motions, Mr. Fendig?
Well, whatever you want to do. If
You
you
had
want to,
mentioned something about 13. Did you want to pull that now, or you want to wait till the night?
for the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Or
think a
you
little
can just
more.
you can pull it that night.
I'll
if you
just
want
pull
to.
it that night.
All right, so we'll pull 19 and 23 off the consent, and the rest of it will go to consent. No further any other further questions or issues? This meeting is adjourned.